Hello, everyone. This is the Board Game Lawyer. Today I'm going to play some Marvel Champions, and we know that Marvel Champions is a product of Fantasy Flight Games. So, the Marvel Champions monthly podcast crew has issued yet another matchup challenge. This is challenge number 9. It's entitled To Hela and Back, and I'm excited to play this challenge because Hela is probably my favorite encounter set in the Mad Titans Shadow campaign box. But here's the rub. One of the heroes that we have to use in our group is Thor or Valkyrie. And so I'm a solo player, so I have to pick one of these. So historically, I do not do well with Thor, and Valkyrie just hasn't grabbed my attention yet. So Thor it is. So how do I build a Thor deck? I needed help. So I went out on Discord this week and asked what cards are must plays in Thor. And here are some of the answers that I got. Now, aggression, of course, was the overwhelming answer. And so here's my Thor deck. Has all my Thor cards in it. So we'll shuffle that up. And so Villain Theory on Discord, he called out Throg and Thor. And that's Lady Thor. And he also called out Valkyrie. So we're going to include those 3 cards in my deck today. Now, Kennedy Hawk, he called out Lion Weight. So we'll include 2 copies of Lion Weight in our deck today. And he also thought it'd be a good idea to play Angela in our deck. So we'll do that. Addercop said to include Mean Swing in our deck. So I have 2 copies of Mean Swing. Significant Figure said, he asked the question, is Bug a good idea? Well, I guess we'll find out. So we'll include Bug in our deck today. And of course, what Bug deck idea is not good without including an Energy Spear? So we'll put Energy Spear in our deck as well today. Brian V, he thought that Spider Girl would be a good idea. So we'll include Spider Girl in our deck today. Fusillade, that's 2 copies I decided to put in there on his recommendation. He also thought Smash the Problem, and that's a really good card. I like that one a lot. We'll include 2 copies of that in my deck today, as well as 2 copies of Godlike Stamina. I'll start shuffling this deck up. And then we always want to include our resources. So we have Energy, Genius, and Strength that we'll include in our deck, as well as the Power of Aggression, 2 copies of it. And then the 3 cards that I decided that I wanted to include, just because I like them, are Looking for Trouble, Yarnborn, and Dive Bomb. So that makes up my 40-card deck. I'll just give it a nice little shuffle here. I don't drop my cards all over the table. Let's give that a good shuffle. And then we'll take a look at our setup on our Hela encounter set. So Hela, she has as her scheme 1 and her attack of 1. And so her text, there's a little star by each of those. Her text reads, and this is her her A1 side. We only have A1 and A2 side that we'll be using for Hela because she has some unique abilities here. So she says that she gets +1 scheme and +1 attack and +1 hit point per player for each side scheme in the victory display. Well, we don't have any side schemes in the victory display, so she's going to start off with hit points of 8, which I have here on the table. 8 hit points. It says, when Hela is defeated, if Odin is not attached to the main scheme, you win the game. Well, Odin begins the game attached to the main scheme according to our setup rules for our Odin's Torment main scheme. So it tells us that our contents needs to be in the villain deck is Hela A, which we have, and then it says the standard set and 2 modular encounter sets, and the ones that they recommend here are Legions of Hell, which I'm not going to use today. And I'll tell you why. Because this week, the Critical Encounters podcast crew featured the Ransacked Armory. So instead of Legions of Hell, we're going to put the Ransacked Armory into our deck today. So we'll be using the Flamethrower, the Hollow Shield Generator, the Jetpack, some tech gauntlets, and some armored guards. We're going to include those 7 cards in our deck today. The other one it's asked us to include is Frost Giants, and we'll keep Frost Giants in there because what game would not be complete without a Frost Giant wielding a flamethrower? So we'll go ahead and get our encounter deck set up. We'll go ahead and shuffle those 7 cards in there and shuffle our encounter deck. And then we'll take a look at our setup. It tells us on our setup here that we need to attach Odin to the main scheme as a captive and to put him on their captive side up, to reveal Nippelir and Garm, which is a side scheme and a minion, and set Yalabru, Scourge, Hall of Fame, Nastrod, and Niglod aside out of play. I'm going to destroy these names today, so I doubt we'll even make it that far. I don't have a lot of confidence in my abilities to play with Thor, so hopefully we'll get that far. Shuffling up my encounter deck right now. And let's take a look at Odin, because he has a Thort of 2, an attack of 3. He's an Asgardian. He's a captive, and he says, while Odin is not attached to the main scheme, the first player gains control of Odin. Odin cannot have cards attached and does not count against the ally limit. If Odin leaves play, the players lose the game. So Odin will be attached to the main scheme, and that's all according to our setup here. All right, so side 1A is complete. Side 1B, 18 threat, will end the game. It says, in order to rescue Odin, you must make a perilous journey. And the forced interrupt here is when Hela would be defeated. If Odin is attached to the scheme, discard each attachment from Hela and flip her to her wounded side instead. If this scheme is completed, the players lose the game. So it begins with 1 threat, and we add 1 additional threat each game, each turn. And let's take a look at our minion and our side scheme that we begin the game with. So Garm comes out into play. He has toughness, victory 2. Garm engages the first player. Threat cannot be removed from Nippelir, which is the side scheme. So we'll put Garm on the table with his toughness card. And Nippelir reads, it is a hinder 1, a victory of 2. When defeated, the first player reveals Yalabru and Scourge and puts them into play. Deal each other player 1 face down encounter card. Okay, so when we defeat this, we deal each other player 1 face down encounter card. So I guess in a 1-player game, we wouldn't do that. But it does have an acceleration token on it. It comes into play with hinder 1 and 2, so it comes into play with 3 threat on it. And I think that will be all we need to do to set up Hela. Now remember too, for each side scheme in the victory display, she gets +1 scheme, +1 attack, and +2 hit points. And so this is a side scheme when it says victory 2 that will go into the victory display. But it has 3 threat on it. Odin's Torment is going to have 1 threat on it. Garm has a tough card on him. And so let's take a look at our Odin son. So Thor here has an action. He has 4 recovery. Worthy action. Search your deck and discard pile for the Mjolnir upgrade. Mjolnir upgrade. And add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck. Limit once per round. I don't think I've ever said Mjolnir out loud before. But anyway, that's the the upgrade that we can go search for. He begins with a hand size of 5 and 14 hit points. I think everything's ready to go. We're all set up. Decks are shuffled. So let's draw our hand size of 5 to begin our game. So our first card is Lightning Strike. Spend X energy resources. Deal X damage to the villain and each minion engaged with you. This attack ignores tough status cards if you have the aerial trait. Don't have the aerial trait yet. We draw Angela. We're going to draw Strength. We'll draw the Power of Aggression. And one more card is the Hammer Throw. Exhaust Mjolnir. Deal 8 damage to an enemy and return Mjolnir to your hand. This attack gains overkill. All right. So I kind of like my opening hand. It's almost feels kind of like a waste. But I do like the fact that we have Angela, because it says after Angela enters play under your control, search the top 10 cards of the encounter deck for a minion, put it into play, engage with you, shuffle the encounter deck. If a minion was not put in play this way, discard Angela. And then we have Lightning Strike. I think the first thing that I'll do, though, is I'm going to discard Lightning Strike as part of my mulligan and draw another card. So we have 4 Asgard. It says search your deck for and discard pile for a card with the Asgard trait and add it to your hand, shuffle your deck. Well, we'll see if we can use that. In the meantime, we'll go ahead and use our worthy action, which is to search my deck and discard pile for my hammer. So let's see where it's at. There it is. There's our hammer. We'll bring it into our hand, and I'll need to shuffle my player deck after searching for it. You can do that once per round, according to Odinson's text. All right. Sufficiently shuffled. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards now that we have. Let's go ahead and play Angela. And we'll put her on the table, and we'll look through the top 10 cards of our encounter deck to see if there's any minions there. And it says that I can put them into play. I'm going to do that after I flip over to Thor's side, because Thor has an ability. It says, have at thee, response, after you engage a minion, draw 2 cards. He has thwart of 1, attack of 2, and a defense of 2. So let's look at our top 10 cards. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Well, we did find 2 minions in the top 10 cards of our encounter deck. One's a Frost Giant who comes into play with Toughness card on him. And the other one is Luffy, who also comes into play with a Toughness card on him. And he has a Force response after he attacks and damages a character. Stun that character. Well, I think what we'll do is, instead of bringing Luffy out already, we'll go ahead and bring out the Frost Giant. And he comes into play with a Toughness card on him. I'm going to shuffle my encounter deck because I searched through it to find him. And we got to keep in mind, too, that because of my Thor's ability, have at thee, response, draw 2 cards. That's limit once per phase. Okay, that's good to know. Once per phase, I can do that. Toughness card. I still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in my hand. I get to draw 2 more cards. The first one's an energy card, and the next one is Godlike Stamina. Heal 2 damage from your identity. You may discard a status card from your identity. Well, I don't have to heal myself just yet. 4 Asgard. Search your deck and discard pile for a card with the Asgard trait and add it to your hand. Hammer throw. Exhaust. Deal 8 damage to an enemy. Return it to my hand. All right. Well, I do have a lot of resources, so it might be worth our while to play that 4 Asgard. Search your deck and discard pile for a card with the Asgard trait and add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck. We'll do that. And we'll spend our Godlike Stamina to do so. Set my hand down here for now. Let's look for a card. Well, we have a location. You get +1 hand size. Oh, that's always handy. I have Throg. He's also an Asgardian. God of Thunder. That's another one where I can generate an additional resource each turn. Love that card. There's Bug. Thor. After you play Thor from your hand, deal 2 damage to a villain. To the villain, 3 damage instead if you paid for this card using a physical resource. There's a lot of options here. I have Yarnborn that I could bring out. Another God of Thunder. Valkyrie. Deal 2 damage to a minion. let's see. Lady Sif. After Lady Sif enters play, ready Thor or Odin's son. Ready Thor or Odin's son. Add that card to my hand. I think I'll do that. I'm going to bring Lady Sif into my hand. Or Asgard. That's another one, too. I get +1 hand size for the rest of the game if I play that card on the table. Let's do that. Let's bring that one into our hand. Got to think long term here. It's going to be a long game. Shuffling. Love the fact that this will give me +1 hand size. Let's see what I want to spend to put it out. I think I'll spend the power of aggression and strength to put out the Asgard card. And then I can spend a resource to put out Mjolnir. And I think I'll go ahead and spend my hammer throw. I just don't have enough to... Did I grab my cards? Yeah, I did. Grab my 2 cards. So I think I'll spend the hammer throw to put out Mjolnir. And I'll keep hold of that energy card. We'll send that into our next turn. So Thor is going to attack. And he's going to do so for 3. And we'll do that damage to Hela. 1, 2, 3. And then we'll do the same thing with Angela. We'll do 2 attack onto Hela. 1, 2. That'll take her down to 3. And then we'll draw our hand size. So that's going to end our turn, but now we have a +1 hand size, so we can draw 4 + 1. So we've got energy, and we draw Thor's helmet. We'll draw lion weight, fusillade, and the lightning strike. All right, so those are our 5 cards now that make up our hand going into our next turn. So Hela, she's going to place 1 threat +1 threat onto the main scheme. Garm is going to attack, so he's going to attack for 2 onto Thor. That'll take him down to 12. And then the Frost Giant's going to attack for 3, and that'll take him down to 9. So Thor is now down to 9 after that first initial attack. Let's see, I've got 3 threat on Odin's Torment. And then we're going to draw our encounter card, which is a jetpack attached to the minion with the most remaining hit points. If you cannot, this card gains surge. Well, we've got minions out there. Forced to interrupt. When attached minion would take any amount of damage from an attack, discard the top card of the encounter deck. Reduce the damage from that attack by the number of boost icons discarded this way. So we could either put it on the Frost Giant, or we could put it on Garm. And I think that we'll put it on the Frost Giant. Okay, so we have to keep in mind that we reduce the damage dealt to him by the number of boost icons discarded when we attack him. He does have that tough card on him, so that might make things a little tough, right? Pardon pun. All right, so that's the end of Hela's turn. So Thor gets to take a turn now. So if we were to attack Hela with Thor for 3 damage, that would flip her to her alter ego side, basically. It's her wounded side. Hela cannot be defeated. Forced response after a side scheme is defeated. Flip Hela to her mystic side. So that's her main side here. So we could flip her over and keep her out of play until we decide that we're going to remove some threat. That may not be a bad idea, but let's take a look at our hand and see what we can craft for this turn. So we have Thor's helmet, we have some lion weight, fusillade, exhaust a weapon, upgrade you control, deal 5 damage to an enemy, And we have that lightning strike. Spend X energy resources and deal X damage. Let's see what we got here. Well, we got a lot of damage here. Each minion gets this attack ignores tough status cards if you have the aerial trait. Okay. May not be a bad idea. I could do 3 damage. It would cost me 1 to do that. Is that worth it? It will flip Hela too. Why not? Let's do it. But I don't think that lightning strike will actually remove the tough cards, because spend X resources, deal X damage to the villain and each minion engaged with you. This attack ignores tough status cards if you have the aerial trait, which we've got. Or I could just do lots and lots of damage with Thor and Angela, and I could put some decent cards in play, like Lion Weight and Fusillade. So let's do this first. Let's exhaust Angela. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, we'll exhaust Angela to two damage to the Frost Giant here. Let's see if this takes care of that. When this attack, when the attached minion would take any amount of damage from an attack, discard the top card of the encounter deck, reduce the damage from that attack by the number of boost icons discarded this way. So there's 1 boost icon, so he'll actually take 1 damage. So the Frost Giant will lose his toughness ability from that attack from Angela. And then let's see what happens when we... Let's do the lightning strike. We'll spend the Fusillade to Lion Weight. Think about this. Yeah, I think we'll do that. Let's do the lightning strike. Can't remove threat from here until this guy's gone. If I attack with Thor, he does an attack of 3. I gotta remove that tough card. Let's do that then. Let's just do the lightning strike. We'll spend Thor's helmet to play the lightning strike, and we'll use the Lion Weight card. We'll use a Lion Weight card to do 1 damage to Hela, Garm, and Frost Giant, right? Spend X resources, deal X damage to the villain and each minion engaged with you. Ignores tough status cards if you have the aerial trait. I don't want to ignore the tough status card because it'll still remain on him, I believe. If I'm wrong about that, please let me know. Or I could just... Let's just do it. Let's attack with Thor. We'll knock off the tough status card from Garm. I can play the Fusillade, exhaust a weapon, upgrade you control, deal 5 damage to an enemy. So we'll deal the 5 damage to Garm. Using that. Alright. So 5 damage to Garm. Puts him in the victory pile, so he will not go in the discard pile. I'll set that over here for now. And... the lightning strike. Or I could spend 2 for Thor's helmet. How about I just do the 2 for Thor's helmet? I'll spend these 2 resources to put his helmet on him. And that'll increase my hit points to 5. Or plus 5. So 9 up to 14. And do I want to flip over? I could get an extra card if I do. and not have to take all the damage. Or I could absorb lots of damage. I'll just flip over because the Frost Giant only does one scheme. So we'll flip over to Thor, Odin's son, and we will draw 6 cards to go into our next round. So we draw the Power of Aggression. We have Thor's Hammer, Yarnborn and God of Thunder, Genius, and Lady Sif. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards. That's what we take into our next hand, into our next round. We do have to place 1 threat on Angela for that damage. We did damage. Yeah, we did damage the first time too, so she has 2 consequential damage on her. I forgot to put that on her last round. And now it's Hela's turn. So she's going to place 2 threat because of Nippelir and the +1 on the scheme. Hela's going to scheme for 1 plus. If damage from this attack defeats an ally, place 2 threat on the main scheme. It does not. So we just place 1 threat plus 1 is 2. So 2 more threat goes on Odin's Torment. And then 1 for the Frost Giant. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on Odin's Torment now. Let's go ahead and just replace those. Make it easier to read for us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. And now she draws her encounter card, which is another Frost Giant who comes into play with a toughness card on him. Nice thing about that is, I'm not in my hero form. Otherwise, I could draw 2 cards. Probably should have stayed down. But that will end Hela's turn. And now we will Hammer Throw. Yarnborn, God of Thunder, and Lady Sif. Okay. All right, so I think I'll begin by doing an attack onto the Frost Giant. So we'll attack this Frost Giant and knock that tough card off of him with Angela. That will do an additional consequential damage to Angela, so she'll be lost to the discard pile. If we bring Lady Sif onto the table now, or God of Thunder. Let's put God of Thunder on the table. Exhaust God of Thunder and generate a energy resource. So we'll bring him out for 2. And then we will do the Hammer Throw. Yeah, I think we'll do a Hammer Throw. We'll have to first flip over to Thor's side. Or we can go ahead and put out Lady Sif. Let's do that first. Let's do 3 attack with Thor onto the Frost Giant. Now remember, we have that jetpack, so his 3 damage will get reduced to 1. So we'll put 1 damage onto the Frost Giant. We'll bring Lady Sif out onto the table using that 1 energy resource. It says after she enters play, ready Thor, Odin's son. So we'll spend 1, 2, 3 resources to put him out. Or put her out, plus the 1. So we're going to ready Thor. And now he's going to do 3 more damage to the Frost Giant. And we subtract 0 from that. So the jetpack is gone. And the Frost Giant's gone because we did full 3 damage to the Frost Giant. And then Lady Sif, she could do 2 damage, or she could remove 2 threat. think we'll remove the 2-threat from Nipalier. And Thor activated. So he's... Or do I want to take it from there? I think I'll take it from here. All right. So that'll bring it down to 1. Hela's still on the table. Thor, Lady Sif will ready everything. She does take 1 consequential damage for that thwart that she did. Thor's helmet, and we'll draw a hand size of 5. So we draw a hammer throw, and we have Spider Girl, Lion Weight, Defender of the 9 Realms, and Thor. Okay, so those are our 5 cards going into our next turn. We're going to add 2 threat to Odin's Torment, which will bring it up to 10. And then Hela's going to attack Thor. So she adds 1 plus 1 is 2 damage to Thor. And then that Frost Giant's going to do 3 more damage to Thor. And that'll take him down to 9. Then we draw our encounter card, which reads... Tech Gauntlets. Attached to the minion with the most remaining hit points. If you cannot, this card gains Surge. Well, we do have a Frost Giant on the table. Attached minion gets +3 hit points. Attached minion's attacks gain Overkill, and he's a +1 attack. So now he's up to 4 attack. That Frost Giant is. So we're going to have to do some work to get him off the table next. All right. And... now it's Thor's turn. So I can exhaust Mjolnir, deal 8 damage to an enemy, and return Mjolnir to your hand. This attack gains Overkill. So I could technically get rid of that Frost Giant by using a hammer throw. What's it going to cost me? It's going to cost me quite a bit to do that. But I think that's fine. So we'll do the hammer throw. We'll use... Defender of the 9 Realms and a Lion Weight. No, we'll use both of our minions. And our Defender of the 9 Realms to play the hammer throw. Exhaust Mjolnir, deal 8 damage to an enemy, and return Mjolnir to your hand. This attack gains Overkill. I think before we do that, though, let's go ahead and attack with Thor first, because we can do 3 damage onto Hela. We'll bring her down to 0. And that will flip Hela over. And so she says that she cannot be defeated. Force response after a side scheme is defeated. Flip Hela to her mystic side. Let's think about that too. Let's put those 3 back on there before we do that damage. Do we want to remove this side scheme from the table first before that happens? If we do, it's going to bring reveals Yallowbrew and Scourge and puts them into play. Deal each player a face-down encounter card. Let's just think about that for a moment. There's a lot to think about. So, let's... of course, if we bring another minion into play, we'll be able to draw 2 more cards, and we might get something a little bit more worthy in our hand. And if we put Lion Weight on the table, when that minion comes into play, it'll deal 3 damage to that minion. Which probably would just end up knocking a toughness card off of that minion anyway. Which might not be a bad idea. Tell you what, here's what we'll do. We're going to, with Lady Sif, deal... yeah, we'll do 2 thwart on a Nipalier. And we'll get rid of that one. So this will go into the first player... or it goes into the victory pile. So it's going to give her +2 hit points. So she goes from 3 to 5. And that's in the victory pile now. And then I bring out Scourge, who has a toughness card. And Yalabru, which the first player reveals Hall of Nastrad. Okay, that's when defeated. And so that'll be our last side scheme and minion when this card is defeated. So it has a hinder of 1, so it comes into play with 4 threat on it. And the acceleration tokens are pretty high. And he comes in play with a toughness card on him. I get to draw 2 cards for bringing Scourge out onto the table, so we'll draw Dive Bomb. Play only if your identity has the aerial trait. Deal 7 damage to an enemy. Deal 1 damage to each other enemy. And Bug. So we got our Bug in our hand. So I could play Bug. I could have played that Lion Wait to knock that tough card off. But I think instead, wow, there's a lot of beef on the table now. Thor. When you play Thor from your hand, deal 2 damage to a villain. 3 damage instead if you paid for this card using a physical resource. After you play Spider-Girl from your hand, stun and confuse a minion. Hammer Throw. 8 damage to the Frost Giant, and it gains Overkill. May have misplayed by not putting Lion Weight onto the table. But that's okay. Let's do this. Let's just attack that Scourge to knock that tough card off. And we will Dive Bomb. Yeah, let's do some dive bombing. Let's play Defender of the 9 Realms. Lion Weight. We'll do the Hammer Throw. And we'll do Spider-Girl to Dive Bomb Scourge. So we'll Dive Bomb Scourge. It's going to deal 7 damage to an enemy. And deal 1 to each other. No, we'll do 7 damage to the Frost Giant. That'll knock him out. And then we'll do 1 damage to Scourge and 1 damage to Hela with that. So that's our Dive Bomb. Dive Bomb knocks out the Frost Giant, which needed to happen. 1 damage on Scourge. And 1 damage onto Hela. Takes her down to 4. And Bug will spend God of Thunder and Thor to put Bug onto the table. And Bug will do 1 damage to Scourge. I feel like I played that turn backwards. But that's okay. So we'll ready our God of Thunder, Lady Sif, and Bug. We'll ready Thor. Thor's helmet. Everything's good. We'll draw 5 cards for our next turn. We have Throg. We draw another God of Thunder. Smash the Problem. Defender of the 9 Realms. And Mean Swing. When your hero makes a basic attack, exhaust a weapon upgrade you control, your hero gets +1 for the attack. We can remove threat equal to my attack. So there's a few cards that we could play in our next turn, but in the meantime, we need to add 1 threat to our main scheme. Hela is going to attack for, she gets +1 attack, so 1 + 1 is 2, and we get to add 1 boost card. So she does an attack of 4 onto Thor. 1, 2, 3, 4. And Scourge is going to attack for 3, and he gains piercing. Don't have anything on there anyway, so that's going to knock Thor all the way down to 2. Then we draw our card here. It says discard an upgrade or support you control. If no cards were discarded this way, this card gains Surge. I can't get rid of Thor's helmet or I'll die. I could get rid of his hammer, but that's probably a bad idea. I could get rid of his resource that he generates or my +1 hand size. That's unfortunate. I think we'll have to get rid of God of Thunder. That's what's going to have to go. And that'll end Hela's turn. So we have another God of Thunder that we could bring out into the play. We have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. On to Odin's Torment now. Definitely need to get rid of that Scourge. I can exhaust my weapon and do +3 for the attack. Sounds like a good idea. +3 for the attack. By exhausting the weapon. Defender of the 9 realms, smash the problem. Exhaust your hero, remove threat from a scheme equal to your attack. Exhaust God of Thunder and generate a resource and Throg. He enters play. So I think, yeah, I'll do that. I'm going to attack with Thor to do 3 damage to Scourge, so he'll be off the table. No more Scourge. Let's play Mean Swing. We'll use Mean Swing and Defender of the 9 Realms to put out God of Thunder. And then we'll spend Smash the Problem and the God of Thunder card to put out Throg. Now I got to heal Bug whenever we did an attack with Thor. After your hero makes a basic attack, heal 1 damage from Bug. So we'll get to do 2 damage to Hela with Lady Sif. Throg came into play with a toughness card on him after he enters play. If you're engaged with a minion, I'm not engaged with a minion, so he doesn't get a tough status card. Minions are gone. So he gets to do 2 damage to Hela. That's going to flip her over to this side. So she has a scheme of 0. And with Bug, we will remove 1 threat from Yalabrew. We'll flip over to our Odin's Sun side, and that'll allow us to draw 6 cards to begin our next turn. We do need to place 1 threat onto Throg for that attack. Okay. All right, so I'll draw 6 cards. I draw Looking for Trouble, Fusillade, Energy Spear, Defender of the 9 Realms, Godlike Stamina, and Mean Swing. All right. So we place 1 threat onto Odin's Torment. Count this up now. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. She's going to scheme for 0 plus 1 boost and another boost, so 2. So we'll swap out that 1 for a 3. I think we'll go ahead and swap out these other guys too so we can keep track of what's going on here. So now we're up to 14 on Odin's Torment. And I need to place 1 threat on Bug, right? Because he did a damage, or he did a thwart after the fact. Okay, so now we draw our encounter card for Hela, which is Hela's Domain. When revealed, place 1 threat on the main scheme. Place 1 additional threat on the main scheme for each side scheme in the victory display. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And we have 1 in the victory display. So we add 2 more threat to Odin's Torment. It's getting really high We're just 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We're just 2 away from threading out, so we're going to have to take care of some threat on this next one. Discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until you discard a minion. Put that minion into play. Remove 3 threat from the main scheme, and it'll allow me to draw extra cards. That may be what we want to do. He'll do 2 damage from your identity. You may discard a status card from your identity. Shall we? Flip. We're going to flip it. And we're going to play Looking for Trouble. Discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until you discard a minion. First one is Waste of Niflheim. And we discard Hela's Cloak. An Assault card. Odin's Anger. Frozen. Hela's Crown. Another Frozen card. We're burning through our deck here. Tech Gauntlets. An Assault card. Armored Guard. While this minion is engaged with you, you cannot attack the villain. Okay, and he comes into play with a tough card on him. But I do get to remove 3 threat from the main scheme. And we get to draw 2 cards, which unfortunately, I didn't realize this, will cause me to cycle all the way through my deck. So I'll have to deal myself an additional encounter card for her next turn, for Hela's next turn. So I need to shuffle my deck. Hopefully that was worth it. Okay. We will use our God of Thunder. We'll exhaust that. It says exhaust your hero, remove threat equal from a scheme equal to your hero's attack. I really want to use that energy spear on Bug. Attached ally gets +2 attack, and its attack gains piercing. But if I do that, Valkyrie. Well, I think that's what we're going to have to do. Smash the problem, exhaust your hero, which we exhausted God of Thunder. We're going to exhaust Thor. We could remove Yellowbrew, but what I won't be able to draw 2 cards because I already did that once per phase. Limit once per phase. I could look for trouble, remove threat from a scheme, put that minion into play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We could go through a round where we're just removing lots of threats. I think that's a good idea. Yeah, I think so. Because then I could flip. I already flipped from my alter ego side. Well, the name of the game is to try to defeat all of these side schemes. So if I did smash the problem, exhaust your hero, remove threat from a scheme equal to your hero's attack, I could do that. So let's do it. Smash the problem. We'll remove this threat. So that side scheme is defeated. Yellowbrew. It says the first player reveals Hull of Nastad and Nidhogg. And so this is going to come into play with 5 threat on it. 5 threat. And he comes into play with a toughness card on him. Nidhogg engages the first player. My attacks gain overkill. Threat cannot be removed from Hall of Nastrod. And we have another card in the victory display. After a side scheme is defeated, flip Hela to her other side. And now she's going to be 8 plus 2 plus 2, which is 12. 12 hit points on Hela now. And he comes into play with a toughness card on him. We could take care of him, because we've got Throg, we've got Bug, we've got Lady Sif, and if we brought Valkyrie out, that could help. Deal 5 damage to an Indian. Exhaust a weapon upgrade you control. Deal 5 damage to an enemy. Energy Spear, plus 2 attack. Tell you what, let's put our Energy Spear onto Bug. Looking for trouble. Pays for it. We will attack with Bug. It says attached gets plus 2 attack and it gains piercing. So it's going to pierce our minion there. So, but Bug is gone because I can't heal him anymore. So that's unfortunate. So the tough card comes off and we place 3 threat there. And then if we brought out Valkyrie using these 3 cards, it'll bring Valkyrie out on the table. We did not use, oh, that's unfortunate, 3 damage if you paid for this using a energy resource. I don't have an energy resource. So if that's the case, we may just have to do the 2 damage onto our armored guard, which will remove his tough card. And so we put those 3 cards out on the table. We're going to use Godlike Stamina to heal 2 damage from my identity. So Thor's going to go up to 4. And then Valkyrie is going to attack our minion here to place 2 more damage on him. Nidhogg. Throg is going to do 2 damage onto Nidhogg. And that will remove him from the table. So now we can actually start to remove threat from our main scheme, or from our side scheme. And so we place 1 threat here. And I don't know if I want to lose Lady Sif yet. We might use her as a blocker. I think I might. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 puts us in a little better shape over here. We will have to deal ourselves an additional encounter card on our next turn, and we'll take 1 damage from Armored Guard. But Hela's going to do an attack for 3 plus, yeah, so I think we're going to have to leave Lady Sith on the table, maybe to take some damage. Block some damage. So Thor is upright. We draw ourselves 5 cards. So we're going to draw our Lion Weight, our Hammer Throw, Defender of the 9 Realms, an Energy card, and a Lightning Strike. I like those. Interesting. Okay, so Hela's going to place a threat onto our main scheme here. She's going to attack Thor. Lady Sif's going to jump in the way. So she's going to do a star, attach Knight's Sword to Hela, so she gets +1 attack. So now she's at, we've defeated 2 side schemes already. So she's going to get +1, so she does 2 damage to Lady Sif. Lady Sif is defeated. And then our Armored Guard is going to attack Thor for 1 damage. So we do have to draw ourselves an additional encounter card. So here's 1, and 2, so we have to deal with 3 encounter cards this turn. Our first one reads Laffy, Toughness, Force Response. After Laffy attacks and damages a character, stun that character. So you get the tough card, but we do get to draw 2 cards for Thor, so we grab another Thor and a strength card. Okay. And then Unnatural Storm. Heroes and allies cannot be readied by player cards, card effects. When revealed, exhaust each ally in play. So Valkyrie is going to exhaust. And we place 2 threat on an Unnatural Storm. And then our third encounter card is Shadow of the Past. Reveal your set-aside Nemesis minion and put it into play, engage with you. Reveal your set-aside Nemesis side scheme and put it into play, shuffle the rest of the cards into my deck. So Loki's going to come out now. So we have Loki on the table. Family Feud comes out onto the table, which that's interesting. And these 3 cards are going to get shuffled into my encounter deck. So not much left in the encounter deck. Loki says when he would be defeated, discard the top card of the encounter deck. That card is a treachery card. Heal all damage from him instead. So Family Feud, when it comes into play, it says when revealed, place 1 additional threat here for each Asgard card in play. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Plus 2 is 10. So we place 10 threat on the Family Feud. Ouch. 10 threat on the Family Feud. And it has an acceleration token icon on it. That will end Hela's turn. I got a lot of cards in my hand. I like Exhaust Monier and deal 8 damage to an enemy and return it to my hand. If there's a way that I can get rid of all of this threat here, that would be great. Let's see if there's anything that I can do that with. I don't have a way to remove that much threat. But I do have a Lion Weight, and I do have a Defender of the 9 Realms. Put that minion into play, engage with you, remove 3 threat from a scheme. All right, so let's put Lion Weight on the table using our God of Thunder. God of Thunder. Okay. And then we're going to play my Defender of the 9 Realms. Discard cards on the top of the encounter deck until you discard a minion. Put that minion into play, engage with you, remove 3 threat from a scheme. Okay, so here we go. Our first one is a Frost Giant. He has Toughness. Enters play with a tough card on him. We got all kinds of Frost Giants on the table, and we've got 1 guard on the table. We got to remember that. Got to get rid of that guard. Thor. Do 3 damage when I put her into play if I play things correctly. And then, so that Defender of the 9 Realms brought out a minion. I can remove 3 threat from Hall of Nastrod. So that takes it down to 2. Now we're down to 2. Thor. If I bring Thor out onto the table. Oh, and by the way, we did 3 damage to that minion with our Lion Weight cards. That Frost Giant loses his tough card. We need to remove some threat. Exhaust Monier, deal 8 damage to a minion. If you play a Thor from your hand, deal 2 damage to the villain, 3 damage if you played with a resource. Okay, so Thor is going to... Oh, I got that armored guard on the table. Got that armored guard on the table. I gotta get rid of that armored guard. I hate that. So Thor's coming out. Oh, that's not good. The Frost Giant we need to get rid of. We need to get rid of Luffy. Hela. We got all this threat over here. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Plus scheming. So much scheming. Oh, there's got to be something I can do. Oh, that armored guard is so troublesome. Let's do that. Let's take, and Thor is going to attack that armored guard to knock him off the table. I have to do that. Her attacks gain piercing. So then we're going to spend 4 resources to put out... Whoa, let's see here. When Hela, okay, that says the first player detaches Odin from the main scheme and takes control of him. Deal each player 1 face down encounter card. He does 3 attack. So if I were to bring, oh, I can't knock off the threat now. That was tough. Odin can't come out now. So we will do, after you play Thor from your hand, deal 2 damage to the villain, 3 damage instead if you played for this using a physical resource card. She's going to have to come out onto the table regardless. So we're going to spend those 4 resources to put out Thor. And we're going to deal 3 damage to an enemy. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll deal 3 damage to the Frost Giant. And then we will play the Lightning Strike, spend X resources, deal... Oh, no, I can't do the Lightning Strike now. Can't do it. Don't have enough resources to pay for it because I have to pay 1 for the card. These cards are dead? All right. Well, we'll take what we can get. I think we're going to hang on to that hammer throw. And we'll get rid of the lightning strike. And we're going to attack the frost giant with Thor. So we'll do 1 consequential damage to her, and this frost giant's gone. And we'll hang on to the hammer throw. We're going to draw God of Thunder, Power of Aggression, Fusillade, Lightning Strike. And that's my 5 cards going into my next turn. So already Valkyrie, Luffy is over here now. Everybody's readied. And hammer throw. 5 damage to an enemy. Exhaust a weapon. Exhaust a weapon. Spend resources to play that. Boy, it's not looking good. I have not got a good hand going into my next turn. So we're going to place 2 threat on Odin's Torment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And then Loki is going to attack, or no, Hela is going to attack first. So she is going to attack, and we will block with Thor. Or, yeah, we'll block with Thor. Right? Yeah. All right, so we draw a card, and we draw 0. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 damage, and Thor is gone. Now Lafe is going to attack. Damages a character, stun that character. He's going to attack Valkyrie. He doesn't draw a card for that. He just does the damage. But she's gone. And then Loki is going to attack Thor, and that's going to do 2 damage onto Thor. Takes him down to 1. Okay, so now we have to deal ourselves 2 encounter cards. So we deal 1 and 2. Our first encounter card reads, The Wastes of Niflheim. Take 1 indirect damage. Take 1 additional indirect damage for each side scheme in the victory display. So I have 2 side schemes in the victory display, so we're going to take 3 indirect damage, and it looks like that is going to be the end of Thor, because I'll take that damage. Okay, so it looks like, although I defeated all 3 of the minions that Hela likes to employ, that Thor couldn't squeak out a victory this time, but I had a lot of fun playing, and there was a lot of activity on the table. No doubt you probably saw something that I missed with all of this activity going on. It doesn't hurt my feelings at all. I just play these games for fun, so if you see anything that I messed up during my playthrough, please let me know in the comments down below. Again, I'd like to thank you for watching this playthrough today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Also, I would like to thank the Marvel Champions Monthly crew for issuing this challenge, and we don't want to forget to record our results, so I'll include a link down below. Please feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoy my playthrough videos, and if you'd like to get in touch with me, as always, you can shoot me an email at boardgamelawyer@gmail.com. Thanks for watching today, and I hope to bring you another video again very soon.